It's time for your daily LSU baseball update with Musso at the box. Now, Matt Musso.
Off and running. Welcome in another edition of Musso at the Box, presented by Got Lit Light Installers, LSU and South Carolina, the regular season finale. So much on the line for the Tigers as they embark on this final series and a trip up to Columbia, South Carolina, whether that be postseason seeding, whether that be getting your rotation in order, whether that be the double bye at the SEC tournament. There is plenty to play for as the Tigers take on the Gamecocks. We're going to go through all of it here. The changes to the rotation on both sides for LSU South Carolina. A very key injury update from Paul Mainieri on one of the Gamecocks stars. The keys to victory, where LSU has the most decided advantage, a series prediction, all of it here in the next 30 or so minutes. So go ahead, smash the like button if you have not already. Get subscribed to the YouTube channel and on your favorite podcast app. Just search Musso at the Box. That way you can take the show with you wherever you may go. Follow on social media, Twitter X, at Musso Matthew. You can find me on Instagram and on Facebook as well. Again, Got Lit Light Installers. And let's go ahead and really just dive right into it. Let's not waste any more time. So, overview of South Carolina. We took a first look at them a day ago. Now, they've since played the game against Winthrop in the midweek. South Carolina comes in 27-26 overall, 5-22 in Southeastern Conference play. They hit 269 as a team. They've hit just 55 home runs on offense. On the mound, South Carolina has pitched to a 6.28 ERA. That number obviously increases when you look just SEC overall, and they field it at 975. LSU has won 4 out of the last 5 matchups in this series. You had a 3-game series shortened to 2 back in 2023. You split that, but then LSU won, I guess, the de facto rubber match in the SEC tournament. And then, of course, a year ago, the 2 wild, crazy, double-digit score fests against South Carolina in the SEC tournament, both of those going the way of LSU. So 4 out of 5 in this series. This will be your second trip to Columbia in 3 years. Of course, the one in 2023 and now here in 2025. Important injury update to note with South Carolina. Ethan Petry, their star outfielder who was freshman All-American, had great seasons. The last 2 is dealing with an AC joint sprain in his shoulder, happened in the Kentucky series. He had missed the previous 2 weeks, returned to the lineup Tuesday night against Winthrop, went 0 for 4, but played out in right field. Paul Mainieri earlier on Wednesday announced that Ethan Petry out for the series against LSU. Very unlikely to play. Not re-aggravated the injury, just wasn't fully ready to come back, was sore, didn't play up to the capabilities that they know he has in that game against Winthrop, and now will miss the series against LSU. Y'all, that is very, very significant, and that is a big break for LSU. And I don't mean that to sound crass. Obviously, look, Ethan Petry is a phenomenal baseball player, and he's going to be drafted fairly high come July and fairly early come July, and you wish him all the success and a healthy recovery because his well-being first and foremost. But if you're looking at this from a series perspective and how it impacts LSU, that's a massive break for the Tigers because in 5 career games against LSU, Ethan Petry has hit .312 with 3 homers, 12 RBI, and he has struck out just 4 times. So that is going to be a big hole in South Carolina's offense and a lineup that is already struggling to score runs, which we will get into as we go along. That kind of completes the overview of the Gamecocks. I could tell you in their game against Winthrop, they overcame a 3-run deficit and then a 4-run deficit. The bases were loaded after 2 runs scored in the bottom of the 8th via a fielding error, and then it was freshman Bo Hollins that delivered a double in the gap that scored 3 and was ultimately the winning run. Parker Marlott, I should say, one of their key back-end guys went in and closed it out, and the Gamecocks took that game against Winthrop. 6-5. Now they will turn their focus to LSU. So let's talk a little bit about the series and the pitching matchups, because there are changes on both sides. We talked earlier in the week about what LSU would do if they should hold Cade Anderson, pitch him on his normal rest along with Anthony Ianson. I told y'all that's not something that I would do. LSU is going to. I understand why LSU is doing it. And I know a lot's going to be made about the injury scare that Anderson had. I think that has less to do about this, and it's more them setting things up for the postseason. Yes, Anderson had the cramp, as Jay Johnson has termed it, in his wrist. They gave him some fluids in that game. Even when he took his warm-up toss, he was back to 92. He threw his bullpen as scheduled. Everything went fine. Jay Johnson talked about all that in the week. So for me, this is less about the injury and more about getting him back on normal rest and setting things up for the postseason. If LSU finishes the season 19-11, they're most likely going to be the 3 seed in the SEC tournament, which means they would play on Friday. And for me, the importance of the SEC tournament is get Cade Anderson, Anthony Ianson starts. They don't have to be lengthy starts. They don't have to go out there and carry their full workload, but keep them on schedule and get them their starts. This would do that. And then when you get to a regional, you're going to play Friday and Saturday and Sunday. And Jay Johnson is going to throw Cade Anderson in that game 1 against the 4 seed, because it's what he does. We talked about that earlier in the week in our listener Q&A. So for me, it's much more on that regard. So I understand what LSU is doing. Like I get the decision here. For me, I don't want South Carolina having any hope. And I've told y'all my thoughts on a whole staff day for this team. That was after the Alabama series, and I don't love it. I don't love it. I don't think you've been consistent enough with everyone out of your bullpen for that to work. And I'm not willing to give South Carolina any thought that they can win and play with you in this series. That's why I wanted to just go head on, Cade Anderson, Anthony Ianson. That's why. But I understand what Jay Johnson's doing. And I can even respect it. Like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I don't hate the move. It's also just something that he really hasn't done. In his time at LSU pitching off. I mean, the time that really sticks out was a year ago at Arkansas. They did that to try to, they knew they weren't going to beat Hagen Smith. So, save jump, save Holman, and see if you can't, take a game or two on the back end of that series. Obviously, it didn't work out. But it's just not something that he's done. His track record doesn't support that. But they're going to do it here. So let's start with game number 1. And I mentioned some changes for South Carolina, and we'll get into those momentarily here as well. When you look at this for LSU in game number 1, it's fairly easy with some deductive reasoning to look at who gets this opportunity. Obviously, Casey Evans is out. Casey Evans threw 87 pitches on Sunday. You're not running him back out there for Thursday. That's just not going to happen. And I actually like that, because now you have him available most likely on Saturday to back up Anthony Ianson, and you have a chance to go Ianson Evans and just slam the door. I really, really like that, that scenario, if you will. So it won't be Evans, but you look at some other guys on this team that have had starts. Chase Shores has 9 starts. I'm not expecting it to be Chase Shores either. Chase Shores pitched twice over the weekend against Arkansas, threw 77 pitches over the course of 2 outings, 60 of those 77 coming on Sunday. Could you maybe see Shores in a relief effort on Thursday? Yes. But I'm not expecting him to get the start. I mean, I guess he could if you look at this and go, okay, you need an inning, 2 to 3 innings out of him, because that's maybe what you asked for him in relief anyway. But I think if you're looking for length in that game, long relief wise, it's probably Zach Cowan. So I'm not expecting Shores to get it. William Schmidt is next. He has 6 starts. I don't think that's likely. Schmidt has really struggled in SEC play. And again, if you're trying to not give South Carolina any hope, it's probably not the direction you go. That leaves Connor Ware and Jaden Newt. And I think those are your 2 most likely scenarios. Now, Connor Ware pitched on Sunday. He threw 10 pitches. It wasn't a lot. he could obviously go that role. Jaden Newt pitched Saturday and threw 14 pitches. Not a lot. He started for you plenty in the midweek and has given you three in the third, into the fourth inning, plenty. The stuff has looked great. You have to ask yourself, man, do you love taking him out of the bullpen because he's been one of your more consistent guys and you're burning him up there on the front end? But again, with Connor Ware, you've used him a lot as well. It's interchangeable, that part of it with those guys, and that's just something that you're going to have to do here. So I'm giving you one of those two guys, Ware or Jaden Newt, to get the start. It just, with the deductive reasoning, the pitch counts, rest, when each guy pitched last, those are the two that make the most sense. And look, it'd be encouraging for me to see that for LSU. Paul Maneri is switching things up as well. So Brandon Stone has been South Carolina's game one starter really for the better part of the last month and some change. Really kind of going all the way back to that Ole Miss series. He will not get the Friday night or the game one start this weekend for South Carolina. That is going to be lefty Ashton Crowther. Crowther has made 18 appearances, so this will be number 19. It will be his second start of the season for what it's worth. His other start did come in SEC play. He is 2-2 with an ERA of 4.13, 32 2/3 innings pitched. He's walked just 7 and punched out 24. The opponent does hit 254 off of Crowther, so there are opportunities to hit him. He is in the zone plenty, as you see, with the 7 walks and 32-plus innings. He's been one of their better performers in conference play. Of his 8 appearances, a 2.2 ERA. It's not an overpowering lefty arm, but it is a nice left-handed pitcher that they've been able to get some really quality innings out of. When you look at, how deep Crowther might go for South Carolina, because obviously, look, that's something that everybody's going to want to see. And look, as we said, just the one start this season for Crowther. Now, it did come in SEC play, but if you're looking at the longest outing on the year for him, it's 4 innings. That came against Florida. Now, against Auburn, he threw 3. So he stretched out a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but not someone you're expecting to go very deep in the ball game. When you look at games 2 and 3, that's where you get into the more familiarity with LSU. Cade Anderson will go game 2 on Friday. Appearance 14, start 14, 6-1 on the year with a 3.66 ERA, 76 1/3 innings pitched. Anderson has walked just 20 and punched out 124. That is second in the nation for strikeouts, also second in the SEC. The opponent hits just 225 off of Anderson. Look, the great thing about keeping him on his normal rest is we don't have to have the short rest conversation again. So Anderson, I still expect LSU to be pretty careful with him, just given him coming off of that injury scare with the wrist, but you'll have him on his normal rest. The thing to watch, I think that eliminates a lot, is the long ball. Again, 14 homers given up for Anderson. 9 out of those 14s have come when he's pitched on short rest. Home run ball is going to be very important this weekend, though, because South Carolina plays in a very, very tiny ballpark. Everyone likes to throw shade at Lindsey Nelson up in Knoxville, and I get it. South Carolina's field is small. It's 325 down the lines and 380. Yes, 380 to straightaway center field, which is ridiculous. There are high school fields in the state of Louisiana that are deeper than 380 to center field. This is an SEC ballpark, for crying out loud. Now, Anderson, so first and foremost with him, keep the ball in the park. But if he does that, you feel really good about everything else. And again, South Carolina, just 55 home runs on the season, even playing more than half their games in that ballpark. So it's not a lineup that's packed with a whole lot of power. For the Gamecocks, game number 2, that's going to be Jake McCoy, another lefty. McCoy is their normal game 2 starter. This will be appearance 14, start 14 for him. So he's been in the rotation all year. He is 4-4 with an ERA of 6.7 in 55 innings pitched. McCoy has walked 35, so that has been a bit of an issue at times, but has punched out 76. The opponent is hitting just 267 against McCoy. Fastball, not going to overpower you, but it's a nice fastball into the low 90s from a left-handed arm slide. He's got a really nice slider, as most lefties do, especially against left-handed hitters. The interesting thing to look at here, though, man, is when you get into the SEC, his ERA balloons to 7.7, and the opponent is hitting 3.13 off of McCoy. For what it's worth, LSU did see him a year ago in the SEC tournament. They got him for 3 earned runs in that outing, and what I believe was an inning and a third of relief. So they're familiar with him, and SEC teams have certainly had their way with him as well. Again, 3.13, the opponent's average against. For LSU in game 3, obviously that'll be Anthony Ianson. Appearance 14, start 14. He is 8-2 with an ERA of 2.91, 74 and a third innings pitched, just 27 walks, 116 strikeouts. That is also top 5 in the nation, and the opponent hits just 213 off of Ianson. He's been awesome, and what you need to do is just see the continuation of what he's done the last 3 weeks. We've talked about the fast start for him, and now just continuing to get stronger as the game goes along. That's really what he was missing earlier in the year. In his last 3 outings against Tennessee, A&M, and Arkansas, 3 of the best lineups the SEC has to offer, Ianson has thrown 20 2/3, given up just 3 earned, walked 6, and punched out 33. He's been awesome, and you want to see more of that continue, and having him on his normal rest, you expect it to continue in that realm. For South Carolina, they are officially TBA. One name I will give you to watch is righty Dylan Eskew. He dealt with some injury earlier in the year, but he is one of South Carolina's better arms as well, and has started the majority of these games, game 3 in SEC. 2 out of the last 3, specifically to be exact. An ERA of 4.6, 32 2/3. Walks have been an issue for SQ this year with 25. Punched out 30. Again, not overpowering, but definitely one of their better arms. When I look at these pitching matchups, it's very clear to me what Palmineri is doing. He's throwing the lefties because LSU has, quote-unquote, struggled against left-handed pitching this year. I want to dive a little bit deeper because when I saw Palmineri make these moves, I went and dug up the splits for LSU against left-handed arms. LSU as a lineup, as a team this year, has hit 274 off of left-handed pitching, which, you know what? That doesn't sound too good. But I want to throw some context for you there. There are 2 teams out of 16 in the SEC that are hitting over 300 against left-handed pitching. It is Tennessee and Mississippi State, and that's it. That's it. The next closest team to that is at 289. Suddenly, when you look at that, the 273 doesn't seem all that bad. It's not like the rest of the league is crushing lefties, because hitting left-handed pitching is difficult. First, you don't see it that often. And the ball does crazy things when it comes out of the left hand. They throw with the wrong hand, so they already have an advantage there. But when you look at just 2 teams in the whole league hitting over 300, and the next closest is at 289, you see LSU right there at 273, that tells you they're kind of right in the middle of the pack. And when you look at the lefties that LSU has had to face, it's been the best lefties in the league. Liam Doyle, Zach Root, Jared Spencer, Pico Khan, and Jared Spencer, you actually had a lot of success against. That's been your best outing really all year from an earned run perspective against left-handed pitching. So, yeah, there's a little bit of struggles there, but it's not really any different from what you're seeing around the league. LSU needs to go out there and attack South Carolina, and especially a guy like Ashton Crowther, who's only walked 7 guys all year in 32-plus innings pitched. He's going to be in the zone. Think the approach you had against Gage Wood from Arkansas. You knew that guy was going to be in the zone. They came out there ready to go. And, man, you're really going to need to do that game 1, because that's how you're able to set the tone, because you're going to hit first as the away team. I want to dive deeper into the pitching staff for South Carolina, the offense as well, and especially without Ethan Petry, and then get into our, what's on the line, keys to victory, all of those things. But first, I have to remind you about Gotlit Light Installers, gotlitlights.com. You go there for your quote. It's custom designed, cut to fit for any of your exterior lighting needs. They are your one-stop shop. Whether it's the permanent outdoor landscape lighting for your front yard or backyard patio pool area. Got Lit Lights, you design it. They make it a reality. They maintain. They can even rip out the lights when you need them to. They do it all. And then, of course, for your private events, the temporary outdoor lighting, very similar to the Christmas lights service that they offer in the winter. Custom design, cut to fit, maintenance, install, tear down, storage for any of your private events, a wedding reception, graduation parties, which are happening right now. Got Lit Light Installers, your one-stop shop. Work with Derek and his team. It's not just about installing lights. It's about the relationship building and making you a customer for life. GotLitLights.com. Tell them you heard it right here on Musso at the Box. All right. When I look at this series, and specifically for LSU offensively, even with the lefties you're going to face on the mound, you have no excuse this weekend. You just don't. South Carolina in conference play is pitching to a team ERA of 9.23. The opponent in conference play is hitting .319 off of South Carolina's entire staff. You just do not have an excuse. And look, I'm not trying to disparage the opponent. Your cause for concern was a week ago in College Station when Missouri went there winless and swept A&M, an A&M team that was hotter than anybody in the country. It can happen to anybody. LSU is going to have to go play their best baseball to get this done against South Carolina. But man, this is a team in South Carolina that has allowed 93 runs in the last 7 SEC games. They've lost their last 7 SEC games. 93 runs they've allowed. They've allowed 20 twice. Twice. Once to Florida, once to Auburn. It's not to say there aren't some arms to look out for here. Parker Merlot, we talked about him really in the top of the show. He's tied for the team leading appearances in SEC play. They use him a little bit more towards the back end. He's not overpowering, but they go to him a lot. Matthew Becker, also at 10 appearances. He's one of South Carolina's best arms. Even he has gotten tagged in conference play. Then there's Sweeney, Brendan Sweeney, also at 10 appearances. He's gotten tagged in conference play. Caleb Jones has 9. And, he's been okay. But it's just been rough for all of them. The other one I would tell you is Brandon Stone, who normally starts for South Carolina. He's going to be in the bullpen, or you might see him in that game 3 spot if they don't go SQ. Scouting report on Stone, finesse guy. He would love to get ground balls. It's a really good sinker. It's not going to overpower it, but a really good sinker and a pretty wicked slider. Everything moves. The sidearm, arm slot. He threw a Maddox earlier this year against Ole Miss in a start. If you're unfamiliar with what a Maddox is, obviously named for Greg Maddox, it's a complete game on less than 90 pitches. And in fact, he threw it on 86, which is what Greg Maddox used to do all the time. So it's really good synergy there. And ground ball pitcher, right? I think in that complete game, Maddox against Ole Miss, he threw 15 ground ball outs in that game. Like, that's what he's going to want it to do. But he has struggled as well in conference play. The ERA is up over 8. There just isn't any excuse. LSU, you view yourself as one of the best offensive teams in the SEC, as one of the top offensive teams in the SEC, and statistically, you are there. Statistically, you're number 2. When you look at what the top SEC offensive lineups have done against this South Carolina team, Arkansas scored in double digits all 3 games. Tennessee, scored 11, 7, and 7. You look at A&M, 8, 17, and 15. Auburn, last week. 24, 11, and 11. Double digits all 3 games. LSU has got to do that. And you have to set the tone. Because, again, as we said, the one thing you do not want for this South Carolina team is for them to have any shred of belief that they can play with you and that they can beat you. Setting the tone offensively early is going to be huge. And that pitching staff will give you all the opportunity in the world. They are near the bottom of the league in walks. South Carolina has walked on the year overall 242 hitters. They have given up 85 home runs playing in that small ballpark this weekend. LSU should be able to find the fence plenty this weekend. You just don't have an excuse to not score at a high clip. You really, really don't. They're going to give you gifts. Take advantage of them. Set the tone. Be ready to hit. And if you go out there and you're focused up and you're treating this like every other SEC weekend, which I expect LSU to do, you should have success offensively. Because with respect to the opponent, with the utmost, with all due respect to the opponent, you don't have any excuse to not have a great weekend offensively if you're LSU this go-round. Now, to South Carolina's offense. Look, no Ethan Petry's huge. We talked about that off the top. So the guys I'm really going to tell you to look out for, Nathan Hall, Henry Kazmar. They're both going to hit in the top of the lineup for South Carolina. Hall leads them in RBIs. He's the leading hitter at 330. He's second on the team in home runs. Circle him. Kazmar is also over 300. And when you look at SEC play, he's hitting 326. He's been really good. Those are the 2 guys you really, really got to focus in on. The one more I'll give you is Jace Wiota. He's the leading hitter in conference play at 333. And he's played in 21 out of the 27 games. LSU, throughout this year, has been really good at holding down the opponent's best. You look at Justin LeBron from Alabama, 1 out of 13 over the course of the weekend with 5 strikeouts. You look at Jace Laviolette, 1 out of 12 over the course of the weekend with 6 punchouts. Caden Sorrell, 2 out of 12, 6 punchouts. This past week against Arkansas, the Aloy brothers, Fahiva and Kuhio, 5 out of 22, 10 punchouts. They drove in 3 runs. LSU did a phenomenal job, and they were able to limit that Arkansas offense. You have to do a great job against Kazmar and Hall in particular, and Wiota if he's in the lineup, but Hall and Kazmar in particular, because those have been the key for South Carolina. And if you can take those 2 guys away, especially with no Ethan Petry, you should hold this lineup down. South Carolina in their last 7 SEC games has scored 28 runs, y'all. LSU scored 22 in one weekend against Arkansas, who should be in Omaha at the end of the year. Just to put into perspective how much this offense is struggling. So if you're LSU, keep the ball in the ballpark. And again, they've only hit 55 home runs this year anyway, but keep the ball in the ballpark. And that's something that LSU's been great at. That's a matchup I like a lot. LSU's given up the second least amount of home runs, and South Carolina's not a very powerful team. So that's a matchup I like a lot. And for the love of everything, throw the ball over the plate. Please throw strikes. You want to give a bad offense hope that they can stick around? Give them free passes. Give them gifts. And y'all, that's been a problem for LSU at times. And that's actually one of my keys when you look at the bullpen, because you're going to have to go bullpen day, game number 1, because you're going to save Cowan and Evans to try to back up both Anderson and Ianson. You got to throw strikes. You know, the consistency and stuff, the crispness of the stuff for Maverick Grizzly is there. You need the consistency in strikes now. Same can kind of be said for a guy like Cooper Williams, although I thought he pitched really well against Arkansas. He got hosed on a strike call, and Jay Johnson ended up getting ejected on that because the umpire was as soft as anyone could be. But your 3 lefties, Ware, Primo, and Williams, are going to be very important for you in this series as well. Strikes have got to be of the utmost importance, because if you throw strikes, this South Carolina team has shown they struggle putting it, like they struggle getting hits. 264 overall. I'm sorry, 269 overall, 264 in conference. They're pretty consistent there. Like, they are what they are. So that's going to be key for LSU on the mound. Don't help this team out. Go out there and just put your foot on their throat from game number one, from pitch number one, from game number one, from swing number one. Because you have the talent advantage in this series by a lot. And I say that with all due respect to the opponent, because anybody can beat anybody in this league. Again, you don't get a better test case than Missouri a week ago on the road at Texas A&M. This is a South Carolina team that you might think maybe they're doing better offensively at home because of the ballpark. In SEC play, they have averaged 4.5 runs per game at home. Go throw strikes. You have a tremendous advantage in Anderson and Ianson, who in their last 3 outings against, again, the best lineups you faced all year, have pitched to a combined 2.06 ERA and have punched out 66. They are the best 1-2 punch in America. Last thing, and I've kind of alluded to it for LSU throughout this show, start fast. Start fast and just keep them down. Do not give them do not let them come up for air and even think that they can stay with you. Because there's a lot on the line this weekend for LSU, y'all. You're trying to lock in a double bye in the SEC tournament that could have you playing on Friday as the 3 or 2 seed, which is probably where you'll end up if you do that. And if you win 2 out of 3 here, you lock up the top 8 national seed before you even get to Hoover. And then Hoover just becomes a formality. You drop this series, you'll be sitting at 18 conference wins, at 18-12. I think you're still in a pretty good spot, but you're probably going to need to go win a game or 2 in Hoover to feel great going into Selection Monday. You win this series, you've got it locked up. Hoover's a formality, and you just wait to see which top 8 national seed you get on Selection Monday and who comes to Baton Rouge. So that's really what's on the line for you here. And for me, I don't want them having any hope or any thought or any belief that they can keep you from that. So a fast start is paramount. I like LSU to take 2 out of 3 this weekend. The talent gap is there. LSU's playing some really good ball, specifically from the starting pitching standpoint. And man, I think you have a chance to really put up some numbers offensively this weekend as well. I mean, you're looking at guys who maybe are slumping a little bit, like a Stephen Milam. This could be a huge opportunity for him to break out as well. Maybe Derek Curiel, same kind of deal. Huge opportunity to break out. I will also be very curious to see the lineup that Jay Johnson runs out there, because you've seen Curiel struggle a little bit against the lefties. Y'all know my feelings. I'm leaving him at the top of the order, and I'm leaving Curiel Jones-Dickinson because that is where you've had your most success all throughout this season. But it'll be interesting to see what Jay does. He likes to tinker. He doesn't like that word too much, but he likes to tinker. But all in all, I think LSU, the talent disparity here between the two teams, I think is just too great. And if LSU is focused and goes out and plays their brand of baseball, I think they win this series 2 out of 3. And yes, they would have a chance to sweep, potentially, given what happens in game number 1. But the official prediction on the record is 2 out of 3. You know we're going to have you covered, live immediate reactions after each game. We can recap after game number 3. So please subscribe, YouTube channel, and on your favorite podcast app. Follow on social media, and be here next time for more on Musso at the Box, presented by Gauntlet Light Installers.